Stage 6 to Metz was a routine day. Unfortunately, the routine by now included at least one serious crash. André Greipel, looking for the Tour's first hat-trick of stage wins in 13 years, crashed twice and had to have a dislocated shoulder popped back into place by a teammate. The word from his team car was that he wasn't going to contest the final sprint, but incidents on the road were changing tactics by the minute.
And there's a crash we are hearing on the race radio. There's a crash, and there it is. Riders again, Paul, it's happened again.
Well, this is unbelievable. There's so many risks. There's a rider here from Vacansoleil at the back of the pack. He needs a back wheel. He's waiting for his mechanic to come up alongside him there. And I tell you, this was halfway down the main field. There's still some riders on the floor. There is the South African national champion, Robbie Hunter was there. But big contenders, Cadel Evans is safe. Bradley Wiggins is safe, but you can see by the number of riders there, Phil, that was at the back end of the main field.
Well, Wiggins and Evans might have been safe, but plenty of others weren't. The crash had brought down Frank Schleck, Robert Hazing and Ryder Hejjedal, among others. Mark Cavendish just managed to come through it, but then punctured, so he was out of the running. And Greipel was back in it with his relocated shoulder, racing for his hat-trick.
As we're looking here at four riders in the lead now, fighting for their lives, and what a job they are doing. They are dangling like a carrot in front of a donkey, and they are holding the peloton off.
Well, they are, but it's 250 metres. Now's the time to bring out the big artillery if you're called Orica Green Edge. And the big artillery, I would have to think, has got to be Brett Lancaster. He's a big powerhouse of a man. Maybe they're keeping him down to the last few moments. Look at the face on Simon Gerrans here as he digs deep and looks and says to Stewie O'Grady, come on, Stewie, you know how this works. Come forward and do the next pacemaking.
He comes from the mountains, the high country of Mansfield, Victoria. He is riding the flat roads to Metz now. Simon Gerrans, the champion of Australia, waiting to give way to a former champion of Australia, Stuart O'Grady. A nasty switching across the road. Which way do you go as they go around the roundabout? The coming together of the Premier Bunch in today's stage of the Tour de France. Everybody is on the limits.
You know, I have a funny feeling that Lotto Belisol might have changed their minds here this afternoon, because I'm looking at that long line of riders. They've still got 6 riders in this leading group.
Another man goes. He was left at the crash scene, and that's Mikel Astolosa has abandoned the Tour de France. He was alongside Tom Danielson when they crashed.
Well, it's still Orica Green Edge have got the control. They're still looking at 15 seconds, a quarter of a minute, 5 kilometres to go, 3 miles of racing, 7.5 minutes of effort.
Under 5 kilometres to go for the peloton. It's still 14 seconds as they go under the last 3 miles of racing. The Schleck group is going to lose about a minute and a half, I suspect.
But I can see, it looks very much to me, Phil, even though we're looking from altitude, as if at the back of that long line of Lotto Belisol, it looks like André Greipel.
It looks like him, but surely the man must be, the adrenaline must be coursing through his veins today if there's got any blood left, because he's lost a fair bit out of his elbows and his knees today. But take a look to the right. Greipel has got in behind the man who's led him to 2 victories this week, Greg Henderson. They're lining it up.
Well, you know what? You may well be a sprinter, you may well be injured, but when you smell the victory, the possibility of a victory, forget about the pain, forget about the anguish. You can put it all away until tomorrow, and then that's what I think André Greipel is going to do here this afternoon. And in front of him, Greg Henderson really believes that his man, he can do it.
Big Dave Zabriskie here from Los Angeles is driving this group away. They still can't nail him back. The gap is now down to 8 seconds, and it's taken Greipel's Lotto team to chip away. And the chase group is at 1:57, 1:59 at the moment.
Well, it's going to be 2 minutes at the finish line, I would expect there, Phil, but the race is on here. This is what it's all about this afternoon, and now we're going to see. I think they will get pulled in, but it's going to be just like yesterday, right down to the very last minute, and the sprinters are going to have to say thank you very much to Team BMC Racing, because it's in fact Marcus Berghardt and Cadel Evans who are in first and second position.
The winner of the Tour de France last year getting himself mixed up in a sprint to the line, and his reason is one of safety, not one of victory. He's got Adam Hansen, a fellow Australian, sat right behind him, but he's on the team of André Greipel. As they continue, Zabriskie has gone from the front of that group with his time trial prowess. If there's any man can hold off the boys in a time trial, it's Dave Zabriskie.
There's only very few professional bike riders who can do something like this, sir. The 3 riders from the 4 have been caught. That leaves a situation with 1 man left in front. Dave Zabriskie from Los Angeles, California, has come out of the pack, and he's throwing down the gauntlet to these guys to say, if you think you are fast, well, I'm pretty fast myself. You come and get me.
Well, this is mano a mano now, because Zabriskie, 7 times the American time trial champion. The man leading that pack is the former Australian time trial champion, and that is Adam Hansen. He's looking over to see, making sure all the time to make sure that Greipel is in position.
It's a tough thing to do. Zabriskie looks back to try and judge whether or not he's got any energy left in the gas tank this afternoon. He's possibly the guy who can do it, but when you see the organisation coming, you've got Liquigas coming, you've got Lotto Belisol coming, I doubt if he'll be able to hang on this final 1.5 kilometres or 1 mile of racing.
Well, this is a tricky bend coming up. Zabriskie will not surrender. He's made that plainly obvious. He is going to race them to the line as best he can, and he still has a slight advantage. And you never know. I don't wish anything on the riders, but these last 2 kilometres have been very hazardous these past few days.
1 by 1, the lead-out men are starting to pull off the front end of the peloton. Zabriskie takes brisk going around that corner, but they're onto his wheel now. It's all over for the American. It's Orica Greenedge in control at the front, and just behind them, it's Lotto Belisol.
1 mile to go. Zabriskie has been wiped out. Now it's down to the sprinters again. And if you look at the bottom of our picture, the green jersey that always followed Mark Cavendish, Peter Sagan, is now following Andre Greipel. Not a bad choice.
Very good choice of wheel to follow inside of 1,000 metres to go. This is the big lead-out train. Once again, we saw it successful already in the Tour de France. A bumping of shoulders there as Alessandro Patacchi tries to move up. 1, 2, 3, 4 riders from Lotto Belisol, but behind them, Orica Greenedge are now starting to line themselves up.
Well, I think that was Kenny Van Hummel went shoulder to shoulder with Alessandro Patacchi, but the boys of Greipel's team have started to open up the sprint for the line. It is a perfect lead out with all this firepower on the front. Can it be spoilt here? Andre Greipel is waiting till the last possible moment to be launched into the finishing line, but he's got to watch out. Oh, and the slip of gears by Matt Goss has cost him dearly. Something happened, maybe a broken chain, but they're running up towards the line now. This is Gossi, sorry, this is Matt Goss forcing the issue, and look at the run by Sagan as Sagan takes on Henderson. No, Greipel to the line. Peter Sagan is showing when the going gets rough, this man wins.
What an amazing bike rider this man is, Peter Sagan. He stopped Andre Greipel getting himself win number 3. Poor old Kenny Van Hummel there, Phil. He snapped his chain inside of the last 300 metres. I was looking there to see whether or not Matty Goss was going to come up through the middle there, but no, he just did not have the top-end power this afternoon. The man who has got it is the man in the green jersey, and he will extend his lead in that green jersey points classification. But what would have happened if Andre Greipel hadn't crashed twice today?
Behind the sprint, the crash victims trickled in. Frank Schleck had lost a couple of minutes and a fair bit more morale. Robert Hesink, who'd been in both big crashes, had lost 3:31. But the worst hit were Garmin. They'd left Tom Danielson by the side of the road, one of 4 riders taken to hospital after the second crash. And at the back of a group 13 minutes 24 behind the winner, David Miller, a crash victim himself, escorted in his more seriously hurt team leader, Ryder Hagedal.
Yeah, it's the scariest crash I've ever been in. I think we were doing about 70 when it happened. God knows how it happened. Some idiot. I'd like to see how it happened. So it just shouldn't happen like that. But once it started happening, we didn't even have a chance to really brake. So we were piling into each other at 60, 70 k's an hour. And I was lucky, I think, in that I was in this sort of almost third wave. So I started landing on guys, but then bikes were hitting me. Chain rings going up and all over me, and just getting fankled up. And yeah, I thought it was. I think I was pretty lucky, to be honest.
When the day's casualties were finally added up, Stage 6 had taken 12 men out of the race, including Ryder Hagedal, who didn't start the following day. But seemingly indestructible in the yellow jersey was the same man who'd been wearing it since day 1. Fabian Cancellara still led by 7 seconds from Bradley Wiggins and Sylvain Chavanel, with TJ Van Garderen, the best young rider, in 4th, ahead of Dennis Menchoff, Cadel Evans, Vincenzo Nibali and Peter Sagan. Jurgen van der Broek and Samuel Sanchez looked well placed to attack in the mountains at 17th and 20th. Frank Schleck, though, was the best part of 3 minutes down. Robert Hazink over 4 minutes.